Thank you so much for everybody joining us today. Thank you for your patience. We're going to get started here in just a moment. This is the September 2022 SBIF District Rollout. In this presentation, you're going to be learning about the SBIF program, the new districts that are open for application in September, and how to go about that process. Please note, if you have any questions, you're welcome to enter them into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and we'll be answering those at the end. Additionally, everybody who is attending today will be receiving an email with a copy of this presentation. So we're going to give everybody just one more minute to join, and then we'll get started. Again, welcome everyone to the September 2022 district rollout for the SBIF program. We are going to get started here in just a moment. For anybody who has questions throughout the presentation, feel free to enter them in the Q&A box. Additionally, everybody that is participating in the webinar today will receive an email copy of the PowerPoint. And without any further holdup, I'm going to turn this over for an introduction to the team with DPD with Ligia Alvarez. Ligia?
Thank you, Kim. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Ligia Alvarez, and I'm a project coordinator with the city's Department of Planning and Development, Small Business Advocacy Division. I want to thank all of you for attending today's session and for the great work that you do as small business owners. It is the small businesses that make Chicago second to none, and we are grateful for the time and investment you have put into not only your business, but the communities that you serve. We realize that more than ever, it is truly a challenge to be a small business owner. Whether this is your first year, your 30th year, owning a small business presents new challenges each day. It is in this same spirit that we are opening our small business improvement funds for application. In SBIF's 20-year history, the program has awarded over $107 million in funding to over 1,600 small businesses and property owners. Joining us today is our program administrator, Summer Corps. If some of you have already had the pleasure of working with Summer Corps, you know firsthand how valuable they are to what we do and the impact that they have on assisting our city's small business community. Another essential part of making this program a success is a relationship with our community partners, some who may be on today's call as well. We encourage you to utilize your local delegate agencies as a resource. Our office works closely with many of these groups, and we are continuously impressed with how they step up and advocate for the communities they serve. I encourage you to get to know their staffs, join their email list for updates and new resources, and attend any webinars or networking events that they have planned. If you need assistance in getting in touch with your local group, please let someone on our team know, and we'll be more than happy to make that introduction. And always, please continue to use our office as a resource if we can be of any assistance to your business. Our team is happy to discuss any concerns you may have or challenges you are facing and see how we can best serve you. Thank you all again for being here today. I will now turn it over to Sylvia Orozco, Summer Corps Program Director, who will be leading today's info session.
Thank you very much, Ligia, and thank you all for joining me. Again, my name is Sylvia Orozco. I am the Director of the City's Small Business Improvement Fund Program, and I'm proud to say that I've worked for Summer Corps for the past 17 years. Summer Corps is a non-for-profit small business lender. We offer SBA 504 loans. We administer the SBIF program as well as the city's Neighborhood Opportunity Fund program. Our purpose is to guide your vision to reality through impactful financial solutions. Please be advised that this is a non-residential program. The grant cannot be used for capital or operating expenses. It is specifically for infrastructure repairs. Again, thank you for joining us today. We'll go ahead and get started with the presentation. So today we will discuss what is SBIF, what is our program mission and grant parameters. How do you get started? Is your business or property in a SBIF district? Which SBIF districts are open or on deck? What are the SBIF program rules? How do you apply and what is the program timeline? And what resources are available? We'll also have a list of the September districts rolling out this month, as well as a sample project. We'll have SBIF facts available for you, as well as a question and answer session at the end. So today I would like to introduce to you Elaine. She is the owner of George's Restaurant. who will be receiving a SBIF grant. She did a project in the 35th and Halsted TIF district. This is a family-owned and operated business that has been in Bridgeport for over 40 years. Elaine, I'll hand it over to you. Elaine, you're muted.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. So it was a great opportunity to be able to receive SBIF. It was something that's going to last now for another generation of my family, for the business to be upgraded. The community has really appreciated all the work that has been done, also all the updates and everything that we've needed. And
I was going to say the storefront especially seems to be a pretty large change for your business.
it was a very big change. We have windows that are open. They're actually open right now. And it's given everybody more of a visual of our place because we don't have any fancy signs and we don't do any advertising. All of our business is more word of mouth. So this now allows the opportunity when we have the windows open that people who drive by or walk by, we're more visible to the street.
And
so
that's great. In your experience in working with program administrators at Summer Corps, was that able to walk you through the process?
Yes, they have. They were great. They answered my questions right away. I never had a problem on with anything that I needed to know or contact. I always had a quick response. Being able to apply for it, and this was the first time for me doing anything like this. Everybody was very responsive. I even got lists of resources. So that was very helpful.
That's awesome, Elaine. Thank you so much for joining us. And I hope everybody goes and checks out George's restaurant.
Thank you so much. Again, I appreciate you all. Thanks for giving us that opportunity. Bye-bye.
Sure. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we'll go over the program mission. The program was launched in 1999. This is the City Small Business Improvement Fund program, which promotes economic development by providing small businesses and landlords with reimbursable grants for permanent building improvement cost. Residential projects are not eligible. SBIF grant uses local tax increment financing revenue to reimburse grantees for pre-approved repair or rehab of their business facilities or adjacent land acquisition. Summer Corps is a program administrator contracted by the Chicago's Department of Planning and Development. Eligible applicants. A property must be in a TIF district where SBIF funds are available and the SBIF is authorized to accept applications. Landlords of commercial or industrial properties are eligible, as well as business owners of either commercial or industrial who own or lease their places of business. Tenants with prior written approval from property owners are also eligible, as well as startups. They may apply, and we do require that you have a business plan. A current City of Chicago business license is required prior to reimbursement. We'll now go over the eligibility limits to determine whether or not you are eligible for the program. For commercial or owner occupied, we make sure that you have an average of $9 million or less in gross sales per year. For landlords of commercial or industrial businesses, you must have less than $9 million or less cumulative net worth and a maximum of $500,000 in liquidity per individual. For industrial tenants or owner occupied industrial businesses, we ask that you have 200 or fewer full-time employees in order to be determined a small business. All owner occupied properties are subject to both tenants and landlord requirements. The maximum grant amounts allowed under SBIF is $250,000 per industrial property. $150,000 is the max per a single commercial owner or tenant of a single space, whether you're a property owner or a landlord. $250,000 is the maximum that may be granted per multiple owner or tenant of a commercial property, with $75,000 being the maximum assistance per each tenant or landlord. Applicants may receive one or more grants up to their maximum program assistance. Once this maximum is reached, the applicants will need to wait 3 years to reapply. What percentage would you qualify for? So if you are a commercial business and you're making between $0 to $3 million in sales or net worth, you would qualify for 90% reimbursement of eligible cost. If your sales or net worth are between 3 to 6 million, you'd qualify for 60% reimbursement of eligible cost. And if your sales or net worth are between $6 to $9 million, you'd qualify for 30% reimbursement of eligible cost. All industrial businesses will qualify for 50% reimbursement of eligible cost. Here we have a grant calculation example. Let's say that Grace submits an application for a SBIF grant with an open district with a total eligible project cost of $100,000. She's proposing to make permanent building improvements to her existing retail shop for which she is a tenant. Grace has been in business for over 5 years. For the last 3 years, her gross sales averaged $1.5 million. Her breakdown of eligible cost is as follows. Her total eligible project costs are at $100,000. As a commercial tenant applicant with gross sales under $3 million, she qualifies for 90% reimbursement. The city's responsibility at 90% is $90,000, and the applicant's responsibility at 10% is $10,000. Is your business or property in a SBIF district? You can visit our website at www.summercore.com/SBIF to see if your property is in a SBIF district. Once you get here to this page, you can click on number 1 to confirm your business is in a SBIF district. Once you get on this page, it's going to take you to the SBIF locator tool. Once you enter an address here, it'll give you detailed information that pertains to that specific property. Here, it will let you know if you are within a TIF district. It'll list the TIF district's name. It'll also give you the SBIF application period in which we will be authorized to accept applications, and also delegate agencies' contact information. Which SBIF districts are open or on deck? Eligible SBIF districts in Chicago span neighborhoods on the north, south, and west sides. Each month marks a new 30-day period in which SBIF districts with available funds open for applications. Notice of district openings are provided to relevant aldermen, posted on the DPD and SummerCore websites, and also included in the SBIFgram. You can visit our website for the most up-to-date list of open and on-deck districts. What are the SBIF program rules? What businesses and organization types are ineligible to apply? Some of the businesses that do not qualify for SBIF, this list is not comprehensive, includes chain and franchise businesses, bank branches, liquor stores, firearm dealers, places of worship, any private clubs or adult use. Similar types of businesses as listed on here do not qualify for SBIF. What improvement costs are eligible for SBIF funding? We cover things like roofing, facade renovations, components of signs or awnings which are permanently affixed to the building, any alterations or structures that are needed for ADA compliance, such as railings or ramps, or making restrooms ADA accessible, HVAC and other mechanical systems, plumbing and electrical work. Certain project-related architectural and construction management fees that are related to the project can also be reimbursed. Certain environmental remediation measures, permanent interior renovations, including fixtures, and the purchase of adjacent land parcels for purposes of expansion or parking only. This list above is not comprehensive. If you're looking to do something and you're not sure whether or not we can cover it, we're always available to answer any of your questions. What improvement costs are ineligible for SBIF funding? We do not cover new construction, whether it's an addition or an expansion. Any ground up work is not eligible. Any standalone minor repairs or cosmetic improvements cannot be covered. Certain things will be covered if it is part of a larger build out. Any equipment related expenses such as kitchen appliances or computers or office furniture, those types of items we do not cover. There are a few exceptions that we make to commercial kitchens, which include the installation of walk-in coolers or freezers, exhaust hoods, and also fire suppression systems. So those are mainly the equipment related items that we cover through SBIF. Any planters surrounding or affixed to the building, outdoor dining or drinking areas, including roof decks, beer gardens, patios, any fencing like pergolas, privacy screens, parking lot construction or repair, landscaping, and work on residential units. These are the items that SBIF does not cover. What are the SBIF design requirements? In order to receive funding, projects must conform to design requirements, including meeting DPD's design guidelines. Projects shall also comply with design guidelines and additional neighborhood requirements as described in the guidelines, style guides, community plans, and other planning documents associated with the TIF area and neighborhood in which the property is located. Applicants are strongly advised to consult with Summer Corps and design professionals on design requirements and guidelines before drawing up plans for work. All applicants for commercial properties who are approved for a grant of $25,000 or greater shall be required to make at least one exterior improvement using at least 10% of the maximum amount of their grant, including but not limited to facade repair, windows and doors, and other exterior improvements eligible subject to DPD's approval. This requirement can be waived at DPD's sole discretion if the applicant can demonstrate to DPD's satisfaction that no exterior improvements are needed because improvements have been recently completed or exterior features of the building have been well maintained and are consistent with DPD's guidelines. What measures are in place to ensure applicant compliance with program rules? Checks will be performed on all applicants prior to funding to ensure that they are not indebted to the city. They are current on property taxes and also complying with child support laws. Each applicant will sign an economic disclosure affidavit, and grantees will be required to sign an affidavit certifying that they will not relocate out of the TIF or sell the business within a 3-year period following disbursement of funds. In cases of SBIF reimbursement for land purchase, proof of land ownership will be required before reimbursement may be made. How do you apply? You can download a copy of the SBIF application at our website, summercorps.com/SBIF. To apply, you must complete the application and email it to our general inbox at sbif@summercorps.com within the designated open acceptance period. So once you get to our page, you can click here on the white tab below, and you can download the application from there and scan it and email it over to us. What is the SBIF program timeline? For stage 1, the applicant supplies any missing information to complete their application. You're granted up to 20 days to submit the required items. In stage 2, this is the planning phase where you're required to submit plans, bids, and specifications, as well as cure any debts. This stage is you are given up to 120 days. And please note that stage 1 and 2 must be completed before final review and project approval by DPD. If approved, you will receive your conditional commitment letter signaling you are able to begin construction. Stage 3 is the project construction phase. You're granted up to 10 months to complete the construction. Proof of permit or proof of permit application is concurrent with the 10-month construction phase. The proof of permits must be submitted within 120 days following the date of the commitment letter. Stage 3.4, the applicant is required to provide proof of sufficient funds to complete the project. You are granted up to 120 days following the date of the commitment letter. The applicant must prove they currently have sufficient equity to complete the project. At least 50% of the funds needed to cover the total project cost. For stage 4, this is the reimbursement processing, which takes about 4 to 6 weeks. Once we have all the necessary items, the reimbursement is then processed by the City of Chicago. Unless DPD has granted an extension of time, applicants who do not complete each stage within the required phase time limits will be disqualified. A maximum of 2 extensions may be granted with DPD's approval in the case of unavoidable delay due to extraordinary circumstances. DPD may also, on a case-by-case basis, grant a grant-eligible application an additional amount of time to complete any program requirements. In such case, DPD shall have discretion to determine the appropriate length of time. What is required to deem a project completed and receive grant funds? Once the construction is completed, you're required to submit the proof of payment documentation for review, which includes copies of the sworn statement, invoices, canceled checks, and final waivers of lien. SummerCore then completes a final site visit, and you'd also be required to submit a copy of your building permits. So once we have all the necessary documentation, again, that information is then submitted to the city for processing, which usually takes about 4 to 6 weeks. What resources are available to help? You can visit our website to access resources to support your SBIF projects. Here we have the design guidelines. We have a list of lenders that are familiar with the program. They are more inclined to provide funding upfront that will be needed in order to successfully complete a SBIF program. We also have a list of contractors that have worked with some of our previous SBIF applicants, as well as technical assistance providers and various small business resources. Get to know your local delegate agency. These organizations are assigned to assist small business owners in the SBIF districts that are opening in September. So here, these organizations are local to your areas. Please feel free to reach out to any of them. They can assist with printing out the applications for you, scanning and emailing them. They can answer any questions that you may have. Ultimately, it is the applicant's responsibility to make sure that we get the application in within the open acceptance period. Here in the month of September, these are the districts that we currently are accepting applications for. The deadline to submit the application is September 30th at 5 p.m. The districts that are open for September include 107th in Halsted, 119th in Halsted, 119th in I-57, River, West, and Stockyards, Southeast quadrant. Again, you can submit your applications via email at sbif@summercore.com. Please allow 2 business days for SummerCore to confirm receipt of your application via an email response. If you did not receive an email confirmation within this time, please send a follow-up message or call our main line at 312-360-3300. Applicants are responsible for making sure submissions are received within the open acceptance period. Here we have Doc's Great Fish. This is at a strip mall in the 119th and I-57 TIF district. So this used to be an AT&T retail store that was converted to a restaurant. So here's what the property looked like before the renovations. as it acted as an AT&T retailer, and this is now how it looks as a restaurant. So they completely built out a kitchen and customer service area here. Again, a full kitchen is what was renovated, actually created, constructed in this case, since it didn't have a kitchen before. It also included the installation of exhaust fans, a new fire suppression system, sinks and floor drains, along with the installation of an ADA compliance restroom, HVAC system upgrades, electrical work, including new lighting throughout, and the installation of 2 walk-in coolers and 2 walk-in freezers. What additional documents should I have on hand to submit along with my SBIF application? While it's not required when submitting the initial application form, please note that these items are required to complete the application process. The required documents vary depending on applicant type. So if you are a business owner, chances are you've already filed for business tax returns. That will be one of the items that we'll need to have you submit once we start processing the applications. Proof of property ownership, whether you are a tenant or a business owner, you must have site control. Economic disclosure statements, that is a form that will be provided by Summer Corp for you to complete. Some of these items will be provided to you, some will be requested from you. So again, we'll get that information out to you once we can confirm that we're able to proceed with the application, and we'll request these items based on your applicant type. What are the financial requirements to participate in the SBIF program? The SBIF program is a reimbursable grant, so project participants should be prepared with financing to support the permanent building improvements. Proof of financing is not required until stage 3, but applicants are encouraged to contact their business lender or reach out to one of the lenders listed on the Summer Corps website in a timely manner. Grantees may choose to receive their grant funds through an escrow account. DPD at its sole discretion may authorize up to 3 draws of funding from the escrow account to reimburse an applicant as work is completed on a project. Any fees associated with the use of an escrow account will be taken out of the grant award. Are startups or new businesses eligible? Yes, most startups can apply. Startup applicants will need to supply a detailed business plan and projections of the business's income and expenses for its first 36 months of operation as part of their application materials. The City of Chicago reserves the right to impose additional conditions for funding in connection with startup business applications. So if you have only been in business for 1 to 2 years, Summer Corps requires tax returns and a projection of gross sales to equal 3 years of data. Please note that bars, taverns, hotels, and motel applicants must have held their applicable license and been in business for at least 1 calendar year. Am I eligible if I live outside of Chicago? The important consideration is where you have your business or property. To participate in the SBIF program, your property must be in the City of Chicago. As the funding source comes from the City of Chicago's property taxes, if you live in another area, please call your city's planning, economic development, or community development department to see what other programs may be available to assist small businesses. I apologize, just one moment, please. What if my building has both businesses and residential spaces? This program is primarily for business use, but there are mixed use exceptions. For these buildings, many envelope projects such as roofing, facade improvements, and tuck pointing can be eligible. Will there be enough SBIF funds for all applicants? Each tax increment financing district that has SBIF program available, authorized, it has limited funds reserved for the program. If demand for the SBIF funds is greater than the available funding supply, then a lottery will be conducted to determine the order in which each grant application may be accommodated. If any surplus funds become available, they will be allocated to waitlisted applicants. Applicants for a property located in an Invest Southwest corridor shall be given priority for funding and the lottery. Applicants for a property located in a target corridor shall be second in priority for the funding and the lottery. The remaining applicants shall be provided funding if available and placed on the waitlist if applicable, after applicants in the Invest Southwest corridors and the SBIF target corridors. Is there SBIF funding available in my district? Every SBIF area has its own budget and the city refills it if it has TIF funds available and if there is a demonstrated need for more grant money. Email the Summer Corps team at spiff@summercorps.com to see if there are funds in your SBIF. We also maintain an interested parties list for funds, which you can also send an email to our general inbox to join. When more funding becomes available or the city allocates more funds, we will let you know. The interested party list helps the city of Chicago gauge demand for additional funding. What if I am in a TIF and it is not a SBIF? Tax increment financing is the mechanism that funds the SBIF program. If you are in a TIF district that does not have a SBIF, please contact your alderman. Here we have our contact information for the SBIF team, as well as Nora Curry, the director of the SBIF program with the city of Chicago. Here we have two separate websites which give you information on the SBIF program. The website for the city of Chicago, chicago.gov/SBIF, has the option to translate the information into any language. So if you visit this website, you can click on the upper right-hand corner to translate to another language. And keep in mind that a copy of the presentation and a link to the video will be emailed to all attendees. So we can go ahead and get started with any questions you have today.
Thanks so much, Sylvia. And I just want to remind everybody here today, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A chat box below on your screen. Sylvia, the question I always like to start with is, can you just talk about some of the most common challenges that applicants face when they decide they want to apply for the SBIF program?
Sure. So one of the biggest challenges is having the upfront financing. Since this is a reimbursement program, you want to make sure that you have the financing available and that you are still able to, move on with your business as usual. So the second thing will be to find a good contractor that can be reliable and that can, basically get the project done within your time frame allotted.
Great. So one question is just to clarify, you have to actually have your business property located in a SBIF district to apply. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. And you must also have site control to the property as well, meaning you have to either hold title to the property if you're an owner, or if you're a tenant, then you do have to submit a lease agreement with a minimum term of at least 3 years going forward. And that's basically in place to protect the applicant. As an investor in someone else's property, you want to make sure that you are, getting the best use out of the money that you've invested there.
Great. So one question, and particularly just want to clarify that if their property is in Chicago and located in a SBIF district, but the owner actually does not live in the city, it is still okay to apply?
That is okay. You do not have to reside in the city of Chicago as long as your business or property that you own If it's a commercial business, you can apply as a landlord as well. It must be located within a SBIF eligible district.
Awesome. I'm gonna quick answer one for you, Sylvia. We had somebody was asking if Invest Southwest was included in the September program. Just to kind of be clear, the Invest Southwest program is sort of an overarching initiative to support economic development in targeted commercial corridors in the city. The SBIF program is part of that, and one particular corridor that's under Invest Southwest is located in the 107th and Halsted SBIF, which is open for this month. That's the Roseland Pullman Michigan Avenue corridor area. So just just for your reference, that is something that is related to ISW corridors for this month. If you have additional questions about the Invest Southwest program, feel free, you can send us an email and we can connect you with the Invest Southwest website, or you can reach out to the DPD team to help with that as well. So now I'll switch back to new questions here. Let's see. If per the website, our newly acquired property does not currently have an open application period for SBIF. So is there any type of timeline where we can expect SBIF to open in our area?
So we can investigate the property address, determine if it's in a SBIF district, and then we'd be able to provide further information on whether or not there's funding available and if we foresee that area opening up anytime soon. So you can always reach out to us through our general inbox and email address. We'll be happy to further investigate.
This is an interesting question. Somebody was interested in an annual animal rescue startup business. First, just verifying that would be an eligible type of industry. And would you expect that to be considered commercial or industrial, or would that really depend on the type of property that you end up actually operating the business out of?
So good question. As far as eligibility, excuse me, my light occasionally goes off like that. So as far as the business is concerned, it will be an eligible business. It all depends on the extent of the operation itself, but most likely it will fall under a commercial business rather than industrial. Industrial we consider more as manufacturing.
Somebody was specifically asking about how to find properties now that they could actually renovate, purchase, and all that, and that's usually something that takes place before you get to our stage when you're dealing with SBIF, because you cannot use the SBIF program to purchase real estate. However, if you are interested in purchasing real estate, you can contact Summer Corps because we do assist with SBA 504 loans. But I would encourage you, if you are looking for properties, it is great to work with a professional like a realtor to help find a property to operate your business out of, either to rent or to own. But just keep in mind, you should look up addresses to see if they're eligible for SBIF beforehand, if that's something that's really important to you. I was going to say, Sylvia, do you want to talk a little bit more about, from a financing perspective, if you have a really large project, do you have to have all of the financing up front? Can you pay off in portions? How can that work? Is there another option for applicants?
Sure. So in order to meet the requirements in stage 3, you do have to show that you have at least 50% of the contract price available to you in order to keep the application active. So if you meet that requirement, you can utilize that 50% available to you and move forward with the project. We can pay out disbursements in what we refer to as phases. So let's say you have a full build out of a space. Let's say you've already completed demolition, you've done the rough framing, rough plumbing, and rough electrical work. You'd be able to submit your proof of payments. We'd conduct a site visit to make sure that the work has been completed. We can pay out a portion of your grant that way. So you can then utilize that reimbursement to pay off another portion. So we can do up to 3 phases. It's a little bit different if it's a startup business because we can pay up to 50% of the grant amount approximately halfway through the project. The remaining 50% of the grant amount will be held until the space is licensed and the project is fully completed, then we can disperse the remaining 50% that we had held. But, you know, utilizing the phase option is very helpful. You know, a lot of people do not have this money up front. And even if you do, you say, hey, what if I use this money and something comes up? What if I have an emergency? You know, we want you to feel comfortable. We can accept the phases. Let's say you have a roofing project, a storefront, and you're upgrading electrical. You can work on the roofing project, submit for that, use that reimbursement to do the storefronts and so forth. So that is an option.
That's really great. Thank you. You know, just to be clear too, if anybody has already started a project potentially in a SBIF area and has already done some work, can you try to get reimbursed after the fact, or is that something that's allowed with the SBIF program?
Unfortunately not. It is not allowed. You do have to be approved by the city of Chicago before you start your construction. Now, let's say you're going through a large project and you know you've done a few things, but you still need a lot of the big ticket items to be covered. You know, there's a possibility, depending on the time frame, you know, how quickly you need to get things done. There's a possibility that if you can hold off on, you know, completing that work for a few weeks, maybe a couple months, that we can approve you for the project that has not yet been started or not paid for, and then we can reimburse you for that portion. But if anything's already started and paid for, unfortunately, we will not be able to reimburse for that part.
Okay, got it. I think that's going to be it for questions here today on the SBIF program. I appreciate everybody joining us. And as Sylvia said, everybody will be receiving an email with a link to the video copy of this presentation, as well as an actual copy of the PowerPoint. We do encourage you, if you have any questions, here's our contact information. Please do check out the website or send us an email, and we're happy to assist. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.